Cinderella's story. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, lived a beautiful girl named Cinderella. After Cinderella's kind mother died, her father married Lady Puffy. Lady Puffy had two arrogant, jealous, and quarrelsome daughters, just like herself. They would fight for hours, even over something as simple as a hairbrush.
Ah! Stop it! I said stop it! Give it back! It's mine! No!
One day, Cinderella's father had to take a long journey. Lady Puffy took this chance to give all the hard work in the house to poor Cinderella. Cleaning the whole house, carrying wood to the fireplace, and preparing meals took up all of Cinderella's time. Despite her hard work, Lady Puffy and her daughters were cruel and proud.
Mother, Cinderella is filthy. Don't let her eat in the same room with us. Don't let her sleep in our room. We're having nightmares.
You heard what my beautiful daughters have said? Go and find a place to sleep in the attic. Poor Cinderella settled in a dusty old room in the attic. Out of her small window, she looked down to the garden. And from time to time, she would talk to a snow-white pigeon.
Why, hello, sweet pigeon.
As the days went on by, while cleaning up her room in the attic, Cinderella met two little mice.
Who are you little guys? Hi, I'm Cheddar. I am Mozzarella. And I am Cinderella. You little guys love to eat cheese, don't you? I will prepare a delicious meal for you. Yes. We are starving. We haven't been able to go to the kitchen for hours. There is a mean, hairy, sharp monster down there. That nasty cat, Papu. First thing tomorrow morning, I'm going to prepare a delicious breakfast for you two.
The next morning, Cinderella went to the kitchen without making any noise. The mean cat, Papu, waited in front of the tiny mouse hole in the kitchen to hunt Cheddar and Mozzarella. Cinderella silently took some pieces of cheese and headed to the attic. But then, Lady Puffy's daughters caught her.
What are you holding in your hand? And where are you going with it? It's just some cheese for breakfast. Mom, Cinderella is stealing our food. I'm stealing? I would never steal anything.
A thief and a liar. What an evil girl you are. The little mice went downstairs and started to run around the kitchen to scare the evil sisters.
Ah! Oh no! A mouse! There's a mouse in the house! Mom, I'm scared! Not one mouse, it's two! Ah!
Lady Puffy was just about to catch the mice when there was a knock at the door. The royal ambassador arrived.
His Majesty the Royal Prince has prepared a grand ball at the castle tomorrow night. All the young ladies around the country are invited to this ball.
As soon as they heard about the grand ball, Jezebel and Cassandra ran with huge excitement to their rooms and started to pick dresses for this important evening. Also, Lady Puffy wanted her daughters to look beautiful. So, the evil stepsisters forced Cinderella to prepare beautiful ball dresses for them. The next day arrived. Cinderella was very tired. Her little friends tried to wake her up.
Cinderella, wake up! Wake up! You have to go to the ball!
But
don't even have a dress. The only dress I have is dirty. Close your eyes, Cinderella. We have a surprise for you.
Her little friends took Cinderella to the middle of the room. The white pigeon lifted the cover of the wall with its beak.
Ta-da! Ta-da! I can't believe it. It looks amazing.
Cinderella put on her new dress and did her hair, and finally went downstairs. But her evil stepsisters saw Cinderella and went crazy with jealousy. Lady Puffy didn't want Cinderella to go to the ball when she saw that she was prettier than her own daughters. So she threw a bowl of beans into the fireplace in the living room for Cinderella to pick up.
If you can pick up the beans out of the ashes and put them back into the bowl within 5 minutes, you can come to the ball with us.
Cinderella wanted to go to the ball so much that she began to pick up the beans. Her little friends saw her situation and came to help. Within 5 minutes, they picked up all the beans and put them back into the bowl. Cinderella ran after Lady Puffy, who was already leaving, and showed the full bowl to her. Lady Puffy still did not want Cinderella to go to the ball, so this time she used Cinderella's dirty dress as an excuse, and they left Cinderella in the house and went on to the prince's castle. Poor Cinderella was very sad. She sat down in the garden and wept and cried right under a hazelnut tree that her mother had planted long ago. And just then, the hazelnut tree began to shake and to shine, and a beautiful fairy appeared in front of Cinderella.
My name is Leabelle, and I am here to help you. Don't be sad. You will go to that ball as well. But how am I supposed to go to the ball like this? Leave that to me. I just need a pumpkin. The other things I need are already here.
Cinderella came back, holding a pumpkin in her hands. Fairy Leabelle began to wave her magic wand around and turned the pumpkin into a beautiful coach. The mice into very nice horses, and the pigeon into a well-dressed coach driver. Cinderella couldn't believe what she saw.
But how did you do this, Leabelle?
The fairy waved her magic wand again and put Cinderella in a beautiful blue dress. On her feet appeared sparkling glass slippers.
I look like a princess now. Thank you, Leabelle. Now it's time for you to go to the ball. Hurry up.
The fairy warned Cinderella before she headed to the ball.
But don't forget, you need to be back at midnight, or else the magic will be gone, and everything will be as it was before.
Cinderella listened to the fairy carefully and finally headed to the castle. The pumpkin coach stopped in front of the big castle. Cinderella, with her overwhelming beauty, entered the castle. The guests of the ball saw Cinderella and wondered who this beautiful young lady was. Neither Lady Puffy nor her daughters realized that this beautiful girl was Cinderella. Prince Leo moved towards Cinderella and fell in love at first sight.
Beautiful young lady, may I have this dance, please?
Cinderella was mesmerized by the magical dance with Prince Leo, so that she forgot about the time. When the clock was just about to strike 12, she remembered the fairy's warning.
You need to be back at midnight or else.
Cinderella left the prince back and ran out of the castle quickly.
Where are you going? I don't even know your name.
Cinderella ran down the castle's stairs and all of a sudden lost one of her glass slippers. Unfortunately, she did not have time to go back and take it, so she ran to the coach as fast as she could and left the castle.
Find the beautiful owner of this lost slipper. If necessary, every girl in the country shall try on this shoe.
As soon as the clock struck 12, everything turned back to what it was before. Cinderella went back to her room in the attic. She thought about the magical night she had had with Prince Leo and realized that she fell in love. But it seemed to be impossible that the prince would recognize her with her old dirty clothes. Time passed, and the prince had a huge mansion built next to the castle for the precious glass slipper. All the young girls living in the next country visited this place to try the slipper on. Even Lady Puffy and her daughters visited the famous mansion, but did not take Cinderella with them. You stay at home. It is impossible that the shoe belongs to you.
Right, the shoe is going to fit Cassandra or to me. But I also am a young girl living in this country. I have the right to try on the shoe as well.
Lady Puffy did not even listen to Cinderella. She locked her up in the house and left with her daughters. Of course, the glass slippers did neither fit to Cassandra's feet nor to Jezebel's.
If I try only a little bit more, I think it will fit.
At nighttime, when the mansion's lights were sparkling, Cinderella made it out of the house, thanks to mozzarella and cheddar. She arrived at the majestic mansion and walked towards the sparkling glass slipper. As she was just about to try on the shoe, Prince Leo stepped into the room.
Stop! Don't move. You're going to damage the shoe.
No, it's my shoe. It fits me perfectly.
She is telling the truth. She is Cinderella.
Cinderella courageously put on the shoe in front of Prince Leo, and he realized that the shoe fits perfectly
That night.
to Cinderella.
You are the beautiful girl I danced with on that night. May I know your name?
My name is Cinderella, Your Highness.
Will you marry me, Cinderella?
Cinderella happily said yes to the prince, whom she fell in love with. They got married in the big castle and lived happily ever after. Once upon a time, there was a kind-hearted queen who lived in a snow-white castle surrounded by an enchanted forest. While watching the flaky snowfall on a cold winter day, the queen was daydreaming. She could hear children playing in the snow outside. She opened the window to see them, and the wind whisked away the queen's favorite red handkerchief. And the handkerchief fell right on top of the snowman the children were building. They waved and thanked the kind-hearted queen.
I wish I had a daughter with skin as white as snow, cherry red lips, and a kind heart.
The months passed, and the dream of the kind-hearted queen came true. When 9 months later, her long-awaited wish came true, and the king and queen had a baby girl, the most beautiful in the world, and they named her Snow White. But their happiness did not last long. While Snow White was still a little girl, the queen passed away and became a star in the sky. A few years later, Snow White's father married a woman named Hela. The king was amazed by the beauty of the new queen, so he never realized that she was arrogant and proud. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?
You, my queen, are indeed the fairest in the land.
No one can be more beautiful than me. Snow White grew into a beautiful young lady. Her father, the king, went on a long journey with his soldiers and gave his daughter a big hug before he left.
Don't be sad, Snow White. I'll be back.
One day, the vain, evil-hearted Queen Hela called her chamberlain Dunkov. Unveil my magic mirror, Dunkov. Chamberlain Dunkov was clumsy and pulled the cover down onto himself. You fool! Get out right now! The queen admired herself in the mirror and then said, Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? The magic mirror answered her,
In this land, my queen, you are no longer fairest in the land. Snow White is the most beautiful.
Hela became very angry. It can't be! No one can be more beautiful than me! The whole castle seemed to shake with her anger, and her evil heart wanted to destroy the beauty of Snow White. She made a plan and ordered the royal huntsman to take Snow White into the enchanted woods and kill her, and bring me back her heart. Snow White trusted the royal huntsman and went with him into the woods. Along the way, she saw a wounded bird on the ground. And Snow White picked up the bird to help heal its wing. Behind her, the royal huntsman sneaked up on her and took out his bow to shoot Snow White. He drew back the bow and took aim, but he could see that the girl had a kind heart as she held the wounded bird, and he decided it was wrong to kill Snow White.
Snow White, she ordered me to take your life. I can't kill a person as good and kind as you.
Who wants to take my life?
It's Queen Hela. You must run away and hide.
The huntsman chose to trick the queen and killed a wild boar instead, so he could take the boar's heart to the queen and make Hela think that the princess was dead. The princess was terrified and ran through the dark woods. She struggled through sharp branches and bats in the night until she could run no further. She collapsed against a tree and fell asleep in the cold, dark, enchanted forest. When the huntsman reached the castle, he marched directly to the queen.
I have fulfilled your command.
Queen Hela took the box and examined the heart. She believed that Snow White was dead, and her evil laughter echoed through the castle. When the sun finally rose, Snow White woke up in the heart of the forest, and there before her was the cutest little house with a small garden gate and picket fence, tiny windows with a doorbell, and a round green door. She rang the bell, but no one answered, and when she reached for the door to knock, it opened. Inside, everything was so small that it felt like she was in a toy house. Tiny pots, tiny spoons, glasses. When she found a tiny bowl of soup, she was so hungry that she ate it. And then fell asleep on a tiny bed. Not far away, the owners of the house finished their work in the mines and went home. As soon as they entered, they knew something was wrong. So they walked quietly and whispered.
Shh. Someone has eaten my bread.
Someone has used my plate. Someone is sleeping in my bed right now. Such a beautiful girl.
Hey! Look out! Get the lamp! Catch! Wow! Get the lamp! Catch! Yikes! Phew! Shh! She's awakened. She's hiding under the blanket.
Don't be afraid of us, little girl. We are the 7 dwarves. I am Ace,
And these are jolly, angry, curious, silly, shy, and lazy.
Well, I am Snow White. I'm sorry I wandered into your house.
Snow White told them everything that had happened to her, and the dwarves were very sad to hear her tale. So they said she could stay with them in their little house, but only on one condition.
We really love to sing. Is your voice beautiful, my princess?
Snow White is my name. I'm far away from the castle today. I stare at the sky and speak to my mother. She is now among the stars. I have found happiness in this forest. My little friends protect me here. Their tiny hearts are now full of hope. Good little hearts will win again.
Far away in another land, there was a young, handsome prince. His name was Antoine. He loved sitting outside at night and looking at the stars, which reminded him of the people he loved. One night, he saw the face of Snow White in the starry sky and felt he should seek her out. A fairy told him she was in danger and gave him a magical heart necklace. So Prince Antoine got his trusty horse and rode away to find the beautiful face in the sky. Back in the castle, the evil-hearted Hela was again in front of her magic mirror. Dunkov, uncover the magic mirror. Let me see my beauty. Dunkov entered, but the cover got caught on the mirror, and he almost knocked it over. Dunkov is such a clumsy assistant. Always at the most critical times, he becomes awkward and clumsy. The queen was continually annoyed with him. When Dunkov had left, Queen Hela again asked the mirror to tell her how beautiful she was, Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?
Sorry, my queen, but Snow White, who lives with the 7 dwarves, is the fairest in the land.
No, no! I thought Snow White was dead. The queen stayed up all night, making evil plans to kill Snow White once and for all. She decided the best way to disguise herself, so she changed into a cute little bunny. In the morning, the dwarves went off to work. One by one, they kissed Snow White on the cheek and walked to the mine. And they warned her to be careful while in the house alone.
Now, princess, don't open the door to strangers. It isn't safe.
The forest seemed peaceful, and Snow White began to water the flowers in the garden. The princess noticed a little bunny sitting in the garden who seemed hurt. She went over and picked it up and brought it inside the house. She bandaged the rabbit's hurt leg and let it rest in the sun on the dwarf's bed. The bunny seemed like it was sleeping, but as soon as the princess left the room, the rabbit opened its eyes and looked around. Then it jumped, and turned back into the evil Queen Hela. This was exactly what she had planned. She poured purple poison into the pillow, thinking that the princess would sleep there and die from the poison. Snow White was so tired from working in the garden that she went inside to rest. She was just about to put her head down on the poisoned pillow
Snow White! Snow White!
when she heard the dwarves come home. The princess met them at the door, and after a delicious dinner, they danced all night long. Snow White fell asleep in front of the fireplace, and it's a good thing that she did, because then she wouldn't be sleeping on the poisonous pillow. When the queen returned to her castle, Dunkop was still asleep, guarding her door. Thinking her plan had succeeded, she went to the magic mirror. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?
My queen, Snow White, who lives with the 7 dwarves, is more beautiful than you.
Grr! No! 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 I should be the most beautiful in all the land. Me! I will make a plan that will kill Snow White. A few days later, while the dwarves worked in the mine, Snow White was sewing some of the dwarves' worn clothing. And then she heard a knock on the door. The door was knocked 3 times. Snow White looked through the door to see who it was. And it was an old, ugly woman with a basket of apples.
Who are you? I'm a saleswoman. I have very delicious apples. Would you like to try one?
Snow White was afraid to open the door at first, but she loved red apples.
Here you go. Enjoy it, my beautiful child. A free sample.
Snow White took the apple given by the old woman and took a bite. The apple had been poisoned. She fell to the ground before she could even cry out for help. Just down the road, Prince Antoine rested his horse in the shade of a tree. He had traveled far to find the beautiful face he had seen in the sky. Just off the road, he saw an old woman walking along. He was about to go speak with her when suddenly she transformed into the evil Queen Hela. The prince and his horse were stunned, and he decided to not go ask her for directions. Later that night, when the dwarves came home, they saw Snow White, still and lifeless, on the floor. They were so sad, and their hearts were broken into 1,000 pieces. They crafted a beautiful glass coffin and carried her to the country's longest river so that all the people of the kingdom would know of her beauty. Just downstream, the prince was traveling on his horse on the riverbank, and he noticed the glass coffin in the boat. He recognized the face of the girl immediately. The prince was very sad. But he opened the cover of the coffin. He took the stardust necklace from his pocket and put it on the princess.
Goodbye, my princess. Shine like a star wherever you are.
But just then, the prince saw Snow White move. The stardust necklace was magical and rewarded him for his diligent search of the face he saw in the sky. Snow White revived. When she awoke, she was amazed to have such a handsome prince standing beside her, rescuing her. When they eventually got to shore and returned to Snow White's castle, she and Prince Antoine told the king everything. When the king learned what Queen Hela did to Snow White, he banished her from the kingdom. The king locked the magic mirror and all of the queen's possessions into the dungeon of the castle. Many months later, Snow White and the prince fell in love, because this was not an arranged marriage, and had a beautiful wedding in the castle. They invited the dwarves and celebrated and lived happily ever after.
Once upon a time, there was a kingdom full of happiness. And in that kingdom lived a king and a queen that had only one wish. And that one wish was to have a child. The king and the queen were very kind people, so they knew in their hearts that one day their wish would come true. And one day soon enough, their wish came true. They were blessed with a baby girl. Because she was as bright as the sun that lighted up the day, they named the little princess Sunshine. The king and the queen decided to have a big ball to celebrate their joy and birth of Sunshine. Everyone was invited, even the fairies living in the mystery forest. But the king and the queen made a big mistake. They forgot to invite one fairy in particular. Everyone from all around the kingdom and the kings and queens from the neighboring kingdoms presented their gifts and best wishes to Sunshine. And last but not least, it was time for the 12 fairies. The fairies gave incredibly unique presents to Sunshine. With their magic wands, they gifted Sunshine with anything she could want in the world. In the end, only 3 fairies remained to give their presents. And they also gave wonderful presents to Sunshine.
May the beauty of the world be with you at all times. Little princess, my gift is eternal happiness. May you never be sad and always happy.
Just as the last fairy was going to present her gift, something very unexpected happened. The whole ballroom was suddenly covered in green smoke. And when the smoke was gone, the black fairy appeared. The king asked who this fairy was, crushing this beautiful ceremony. The other fairies immediately recognized her. It was the evil-hearted Black Fairy. So, I see that everyone is invited. All the people in the kingdom, your friends, kings, queens, and the fairies. but unfortunately, I was not invited. The king apologized for their unpolite behavior. Well, I will not leave this beautiful little princess without a truly unique gift of mine. The most beautiful princess will grow surrounded with happiness, love, and admiration, but on her 16th birthday, just before sunset, she will poke herself with a needle and she'll be gone forever.
Seize that monster!
Yelled out the king. But the black fairy disappeared with her evil laughter. It was the last fairy's turn to give her gift. She was not as powerful as the black fairy, but she wished for something which could at least lighten up the bad curse.
I cannot prevent the curse, but I can affect the outcome. May you not die when the curse unfolds, but go in a deep sleep and wake up with a kiss of true love. My gift to you.
The king, with the attempt to prevent this bad curse from happening, ordered every needle, sewing machine, or anything that even resembled a needle to be collected and burnt in the courtyard of the castle. With the gifts of the fairies, Princess Sunshine grew as a beautiful and kind child that everybody loved. One day, her dad, the king, ordered 3 fairies to take care and guard Sunshine, which has proven to be a rather difficult task for them. Because Sunshine was not going to be in touch with anyone but the 3 fairies. Sunshine grew up to be a very beautiful young girl with her guardian fairies. Finally, the day arrived. It was the 16th birthday of Princess Sunshine. It was only until the sunset before Black Fairy's curse was going to unfold. The king and the queen did everything they could to prevent the curse from happening, but they still worried that it would happen anyway. They locked up the beautiful princess in a room in order to protect her. But having no idea what was going on, Sunshine was not pleased with being locked up. Suddenly, a door appeared in the wall. Sunshine was mesmerized by this door she had never seen before, and she heard weird noises coming from behind the door. Curious and unaware of what was going to happen, she entered the door. In the room she entered, there was a woman sewing with her back turned to the door. And Sunshine walked spellbound towards the sewing machine. Just as the sun was setting, the Black Fairy's curse unfolded, and Sunshine reached out to the needle. And at that moment, it happened. With only a touch of the needle, she fell down and dozed in her eternal sleep. And there it was. At sunset, Black Fairy's spell was cast on Sunshine's 16th birthday. They dressed her up with the most beautiful outfit and put her on a bed of flowers. So started the days where Sunshine would be known as the Sleeping Beauty. The king and the queen wanted to stop the pain, so they decided to put everyone in the castle to sleep until the time the princess wakes up. A 100 years passed. One day, a handsome prince was passing nearby, and he saw the castle covered with thorn bushes and ivy. His men told the stories about the castle and the Sleeping Beauty. It really excited the prince, so he decided to go in the castle. The bushes were too thick, and the thorns made it almost impossible to go over. So he drew his sword and started opening his way by cutting up the bushes. Cutting his way through, he finally came to the door, and he saw 2 guards at the door, sleeping. He opened the door and was stunned by the view. There were people on the floor everywhere he could see. He started to walk around the castle, and he came to the king's room. The king and the queen also were sleeping on their sofa. Then he saw a room with a half-open door. He entered. This was the room where the Sleeping Beauty was sleeping on a beautiful bed of flowers. The prince came next to the bed, looked at the beautiful princess, and leaned over to her ear.
You're the famous Sleeping Beauty. You're so beautiful,
whispered the prince. Feeling overwhelmed with love, he kissed her on her forehead. At that moment, she opened her eyes and saw the handsome prince looking at her. With her awakening, everyone in the castle woke up from their 100 years of sleep. The king and the queen were in a great shock. They woke up and ran to Sunshine's room to see what was going on. And when they saw their beautiful daughter awake, they were full of joy and happiness. The prince asked the Sleeping Beauty to marry him. The princess smiled at him and accepted his proposal. And the king, of course, gave his blessing to the prince, who saved his daughter and his kingdom. They had the most beautiful ceremony anyone had ever seen, and they all lived happily ever after.
The story of Little Mermaid Arya. Once upon a time, in the very deep ocean, there was a world that no one knew about. Dolphins would sing. Jellyfish would dance. Little colorful fish would swim. And in the deep waters was a glorious underwater kingdom. The sea people in this kingdom lived in peace with all the underwater creatures. It was ruled by King Poseidon, who loved his daughters so very much and always kept them in the kingdom. Arya was the youngest and did not understand why he never let her go anywhere. He told her there were dangers outside the kingdom's gates. She thought he must mean the men and creatures living on the land.
Arya, someday you will be old enough to wear your own crown. But until then, you must stay here in the kingdom where it is safe. I forbid you to leave.
But I'm so curious about the people and animals on the land. The people on the land have no respect for the life in the sea. They throw trash in our ocean, and we can't trust them. So you need to trust your father, Arya.
Little Mermaid Arya did listen, but the more she thought about what her grandmother said, the more curious she became.
I just cannot wait for my grown-up crown. The people living on the land might be just as kind as we are.
And little Arya thought up a plan in order to sneak out of the underwater kingdom. She thought about her friends, Big Whale Willie and Little Dolphin Dolphy, because they could go in and out of the water kingdom whenever they wanted. At the gate to the underwater kingdom, the swordfish guards moved aside to let Dolphin Dolphy and Whale Willie out into the ocean. They were free to come and go as they wanted. But once they were out of sight, Whale Willie opened his mouth wide, and out came his stowaway, the Little Mermaid Arya. And just like that, Arya was out on her own and swam right up to the surface of the water. For the first time of her life, she felt the wind, saw the sunset, and heard the seagulls.
This is an amazing feeling.
Here's my home, deep blue sea, Everything is fun, friends with me. The king called me the little mermaid, the very best daughter of the king of the sea. Just look around, you will see the joy, a beautiful life, and the ocean roar. Just look around, you will see the joy, a beautiful life, and the ocean roar.
Just then, Arya heard music coming from across the water. She dove into the water and swam towards the sound. Then she saw a huge boat and fireworks over it.
A boat! Come, Dolphy, let's get a closer look. Arya, stop! It might be dangerous.
Her friend Dolphy had warned her, but Arya didn't listen.
Arya, stop!
She swam up next to the boat, where she could see the king of the land and his son, Prince Edward. They were celebrating the prince's birthday.
A prince! Arya, you shouldn't be here. Those soldiers could be dangerous. We should go back home now. They might see us.
The prince started playing his flute on the bow of the ship.
He doesn't sound like a bad person.
Arya sang along with the tune of the flute with her beautiful voice. The prince heard her voice and looked around, surprised.
Whose beautiful voice is this?
Be careful, Arya. They're going to see you.
Far, far away, King Poseidon's evil sister, the sea witch Vega, used to live in the palace of King Poseidon, but had done bad things and was banished from the beautiful underwater kingdom.
The day has come, the daughter of King Poseidon and a human. I send thunder and storm and lightning, waves to overturn the boat and sink the prince.
Because of the sea witch's spell, the waves began to break apart the prince's boat.
No! The boat is sinking! We need to help them!
Arya dove into the waves, swimming through the debris of the sinking ship all the way to the bottom of the ocean. She saw the flute of the prince and grabbed it. Then she saw the prince sinking to the sandy ocean floor. She took his hand and swam as fast as she could towards the land.
Wake up! Please wake up!
The prince slowly awakened and was shocked to be alive.
You're alive!
And to see a beautiful red-headed mermaid next to him. Arya heard a dog barking and realized she was on the land and quickly dove back into the sea. The king and his soldiers and a young lady were searching for the prince, hoping to find him on shore.
A girl saved me. Father, I couldn't see her face, but I feel like I've heard that voice before.
Meanwhile, back in the ocean, Arya returned to the underwater kingdom. She still had the prince's flute and couldn't stop thinking about how handsome he was. Her father had been looking for her, and when he saw the flute, he knew that she had gone up to the surface of the ocean.
I warned you, Arya, and you didn't listen to me and ran away from the safety of the kingdom. You should have waited.
But the prince would have drowned!
What? A prince? You left the protection of the kingdom, Arya. You must trust me so that I can protect you from danger. I forbid you to leave the underwater kingdom.
King Poseidon left. He was upset and deeply worried about his daughter's heart. But Arya was still determined to return to see the prince again, and so she made a terrible mistake and left her father's kingdom again to seek out the evil witch Vega in the dark part of the ocean. Vega's two-headed guard snake was watchful around the witch's sea palace and saw the little mermaid coming.
Vega, the king's daughter approaches. It's time to take revenge on the king.
I knew this would happen. She has a wild, rebellious heart. Let her in, Snake.
Arya was a little frightened, but wanted to see the prince, so she went in to ask the witch for help. Vega agreed to help, but demanded something valuable from the little mermaid.
I will prepare a magical potion to turn you into a human. You will walk on the land and dance with your precious prince. But in return, I will take your beautiful voice.
My voice? But without my voice...
Mermaid shrugged and accepted the evil potion because she was foolish and her heart wanted to fall in love with the prince.
But remember, the magic potion will wear off in 3 days. Unless you get the prince to fall in love with you. Otherwise, you will change back into a mermaid and never remember your prince or your father ever again.
Arya was so foolish and drank the magic potion. Then she started swimming up to the surface of the sea. And as she got closer to land, her tail started to disappear, and instead, she had human legs. Her friend Dolphy saw her and quickly came to help her.
Arya, you've never had legs. You need to be careful.
Little Mermaid managed to get to the shore with the help of Dolphy. Prince Edward was already there, looking for the girl who had saved him.
You seem familiar. Have we met each other before?
Arya did not have a voice, so she just nodded and gave the flute back to the prince.
Yes, we have met. You must be the girl who saved me from drowning. And that voice I heard while I was playing the flute on the deck, what is your name?
Arya tried to explain what happened to her.
Oh, you cannot talk?
But she could not speak. So the prince decided that she must be a different girl, since the girl he remembered had a beautiful voice. Still, he wanted to help this desperate girl and took her to his palace. At the Land Kingdom's castle, the prince's father was preparing for his son's wedding to another young lady. Arya watched from far away and was sad that she could not marry the prince. The days passed, and she could not talk to the prince. Arya knew the potion would wear off soon, and she would lose all her memories. Arya thought it was impossible for her to make Prince fall in love with her without her voice. Then the third day arrived. Arya was so sad. But just then, something unexpected happened. Her mermaid sisters came out of the sea, and then her grandmother.
My dear grandchild, we have come to rescue you and break the witch's evil spell.
Then the waves rose up in a giant splash, and Arya's father, King Poseidon, came out of the water.
Arya, my beautiful daughter, you went to the very danger I was trying to protect you from, but I have rescued your voice in this seashell. I have broken the witch's spell, so you will have your voice, and you will always remember us.
The king of the sea pointed his trident to the seashell in the hands of the grandmother, and the spell was broken. Her voice returned back to Arya.
My voice! Thank you, my dear family. I love you so much.
Ah, no!
Whale Willie rushed the little mermaid to the prince's boat. The prince and a princess from another kingdom were about to be married. But suddenly, the prince heard something and stopped. It was Arya's beautiful voice again. After seeing Arya on the whale, Prince Edward jumped into the water to go speak with her.
It was you! I knew it! You are the girl who saved me.
My name is Arya.
And so it was that Prince Edward called off the wedding and made peace with King Poseidon's ocean kingdom. Arya was the first mermaid who ever learned to live on land as a human and as a mermaid in the sea. And eventually, she and Prince Edward became friends and married and lived happily ever after.
Adisebaba.